Welcome to the Sound and the Healing podcast, where life is experienced, sound is celebrated, and healing is inevitable. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome. Welcome to the Sound and the Healing. And if you're a listener who's heard us before, welcome back. And if you're new, we're so happy to have you. We're going to just get started with something that I might call an arrival practice, because this podcast is different from others in that its intention is not a cognitive sharing, but an energetic one. So we're inviting you, beloved listener, to have your feet on the ground or just feel at ease, but simply feel yourself feeling at ease. Maybe you have a cup of hot tea in your hands, or maybe you're just leaning back with your eyes closed, noticing your breath. Without having to breathe any differently than you are. Notice what is already here. Become aware of the breath that is already here. The sensations inside the body or on your skin that are already here. The emotions that are already here. The thoughts. The interrelationship inside your body between all aspects of you that are already here. And as we sit in peace with what is already here, you might notice that there is a moment that you're experiencing that is here, that is now. And as you continue to become aware of what is here in the now, you might be experiencing the now expanding from a drop into larger and larger body of water, like a watery awareness, all one, connected. And if you were to open your eyes now and look around your room, you might notice that there are so many objects and that there is a sense of many nows and many heres that all of these things belong in. That's okay too. And you can always close your eyes to belong to the here that is now, a drop expanding into an ocean. And you may wish to remain here for the rest of the podcast. Welcome, beloved ones, and welcome, Claire.
What a beautiful beginning to this podcast. Thank you, Rohini. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, love.
It's good to be back.
So good to be back. And, listener, we're on Zoom, so I'm watching Claire. And as you were saying, it's good to be back, I could just feel your body just sway gently from side to side, figure eight of a movement. And how lovely it is to have any excuse to keep coming back into the body, to keep feeling. So today, Claire Bigley.
Yes.
I didn't check in this question with you that's been brewing inside me for a while.
Ooh, this is exciting.
It's very exciting. And the reason here, beloved listener, is that it's not that we were planning or not planning a topic. It's that Claire and I actually revel in responding to the present moment without having notes to look at. So, when I introduced myself, Claire, and I had told some of my history of what brings me into sound, that I come from a culture and a lineage that says, that words are important, but less important than the sound. And the sound itself carries the vibration of the healing. That's what's transmitting the healing. And therefore, Sanskrit says it's really important to say the sound precisely. So I wanted to ask about that because I'm really curious what's coming through you about that, not only as a musician and a composer, but as someone who's deeply present at a vibrational level.
Well, it's interesting. I have two things that are presenting as you talk about this. The first thing being that I think when you are in a certain frequency, when you are connected to self, when you are present and conscious, there's an inherent reverence, respect, and honoring of whatever you're attending to. Whether that's speaking, whether that is communing with someone, whatever, whether it's just simply being. That frequency puts you in a respect and a reverence. That speaks to me of, what you just said in terms of how you speak something, how you say something is very important. So I think my take on that is that, yes, if you're in a certain frequency, that is going to happen.
Right.
My other take on it is, I think the intention, and again, hearkening back to the frequency of what you're sitting in as you're doing something, colors what you say, what sound you make. So to me, it is not as important for what I'm saying as the intention and the frequency as it's being shared. And I think in previous podcasts, I think I touched on this with, I think I took the statement, I love you, and
Mm-hmm.
I said it in one intention and frequency, and then I said it in a very different intention and frequency. And, you can start to feel the difference when you're conversing with people, when you're in the world and noticing what's being said versus what you're presented with. So that's the other thing that comes to me as you ask that question.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm resonating with both of them. I remember when I first came to Boulder, Claire, and I had this beautiful, I'm not recalling now how I met her, but I met this beautiful woman from Hawaii called Pana. And she was, I think at that time already in her 60s. I wonder how she's doing now, if she's still here. But, just really lived less than half a mile from me. And I started to take hula lessons with her. And in my very first lesson, she said, I want you to understand the word aloha. And she said, aloha means with breath. Did you know that?
Not specifically, but it doesn't surprise me.
Right. And she said, now that everybody knows that, who knows the definition, but she said, here's the deeper definition. Aloha, I don't know if I'm even saying it correctly, right? So please forgive me, speakers of Hawaiian, right? But she said, aloha is the is the presence of the breath. So it means with the presence of breath. And you can see as I say that how, the word is on the outside, right? And you lean back into, oh, with breath, because breath is within me. And then you lean back even more into with the presence of breath. And so it makes sense that then the intention of the Sanskrit verses were to be heard from the space of presence and were to be spoken from the space of presence. Um, and um, and I do feel, Claire, that when something is spoken from the space of presence, you can say it right or you can say it wrong, right? It's not magical. It's the presence that's magical.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And it's funny having this discussion. I just got another piece of that. Because there are times when people sing a lot of Hindu kirtans, right? It's a big thing in this country, who are not Indian and who don't know how to really pronounce the Sanskrit. And it can make me feel quite uncomfortable because I'm not feeling the presence coming through. And I have to sit with it some more. I don't know if you have anything coming through, whether that's just an ego preference, right? Not demeaning, diminishing the personal self or our preferences, whether that's conditioning, is what I'm saying, or whether it just feels sung and spoken without the presence that I was used to in my lineage. And however, in that said, when I listen to Krishna Das, who is a white American man, oh my goodness, Claire, the transmission is intense because it's coming from very deep presence, which has no agenda for its own glorification. And he's he's a hollow bone, as they say in the shamanic circle. So there's my,
Well, and as you were talking about it, it brought to mind, I don't have the background that you do in the lineage and that kind of music, but what it brought to my mind was, there are artists out there and singers out there who don't have the best vocal voices. I mean, like, for instance, you
Mm,
look at a Louis Armstrong. He kind of
mm,
frogged and barked his way through stuff, but you didn't care because there was so much joy in how he sung. And
right.
so it transcended any problems with his vocal cords, you
Oh
know.
my gosh, I had never even thought of that. I see skies of blue, right?
Yeah,
Little froggy,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
when he sings it, ooh,
And God, have you ever, there's a YouTube video out there, and maybe I'll try and send it to you after we're done here, but it's of Louis Armstrong and somebody else, and I think he's singing What a World, What a Wonderful World.
that's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah, 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 that's right. Yeah,
I see skies of blue and what
yep.
a wonderful
What
world,
a
right?
wonderful,
And
yep, yep.
oh my gosh. And after we listened to that, right, his voice meeting, is it trumpet or saxophone?
Trumpet. Hmm.
Trumpet.
Hmm.
That then it just keeps resonating and resonating and resonating in the body. And then all of a sudden, it's no longer a song, it's the experience of the wonderful world.
He's transported you into that very frequency. Yeah,
It's a complete transmission,
yep,
right?
yep.
My goodness, I would love to have to spend even 20 or 30 minutes just honoring that kind of transmission. How did that happen with him? He didn't claim to be a spiritual teacher, right?
No, again, I think we all have access to it, right?
Right?
We humans all have access to that connection to source, connection to our very being, whatever it is for you. When you are connected, when you are open to the flow of creativity, there's no hiding that. It comes through. If
It,
you're in that presence of it, you feel it. If you're hearing it, you feel it. You can see it through the TV. You can
Mhm.
see performances that are just, I mean, we've all been to performances where we're like, they were technically really good, but and that is the difference. That
That
is
is the
the
difference.
difference. Hmm.
And harking back to that one of those early podcasts in which you did do that exercise with I love you, I would love each of you who's listening to do this with yes and no. A yes that feels a little shallow and hollow, and then moving back into the breath of yes, and moving back even further into the presence of the yes through the breath.
Because the body then starts to activate and be felt, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yep.
the same thing with no. That no is an incredibly powerful word that most of us aren't taught how to use and how to actually feel with our bodies,
And I would say, especially as women,
especially as women and as children, and as
yes,
anyone who in this world feels feels a degree of vulnerability and fragility. And that frequently also includes many, many men. Yeah. And how to say no in a way that has congruence with the entire body. No.
And I'm struck by how brilliant this is at this time, actually, Ro, as well, because when there's so much going on in the world that we aren't in the presence of, we're seeing it, we're feeling it, but we're not in that space to physically, singularly say no to. There's something to cultivating that in a space with ourselves that why can't that ripple? Why can't that affect? Very, very important. Yeah, I
Very
love that.
important. And, you mentioned what's going on in the world right now. And, this is not a show that is political. Neither of us is particularly so. Although, there's a strong sense of the desire for the well-being of all humans, of all beings beyond
Yeah,
human.
I'm for win-wins, you know?
Win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, win-win. Um, However, the problems are incredibly complex, and their solutions, frankly, are incredibly complex. However, imagine meeting those complexities without the authentic presence that's needed. And so this is an invitation over and over again. This podcast is an invitation to presence. We're cultivating presence. And we get to do that with sound. And maybe as we listen, as we read news stories or see something on the television or, TikTok, whatever it is that you're watching, right? Or radio programs or podcasts, take a moment to feel your response. And I'm using the word response instead of reaction, but you can also note the reaction and the imprint of that reaction. And stop, maybe pause a moment, find the yes or the no, speak it, and then move on and see what happens.
I love that. And that brings up a couple things for me that you're just inherently bringing into the equation. Number one, you're creating some silence and space and breath in between the receiving and the reaction. The other thing is, for me, as I navigate things, as I navigate frequency, as I navigate everything that's coming at me, my litmus test for what feeds me versus what depletes me is really taken from the body. Does my body, when I'm experiencing something that's coming at me, is my body opening? Is it relaxed? Or am I noticing my body wanting to tighten and come in on itself? So for me, that's always a real litmus test of, and it's a big word these days, discernment, you know, of what my diet is, what I'm intaking from all different manners of the being. So I love that you said that, Ro. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, love. Thank you. That's a beautiful way to wrap up this incredible conversation. There's a lot to digest, a lot to take in.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to sharing more soon. Take care, listeners.
Be well, beautiful ones.
Thanks so very much for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed yourself and will share the sound and the healing with your friends. Please go to our website with any questions or comments you may have, as we plan on using your questions in upcoming episodes. Our website and socials are included at the bottom of our episode descriptions, so please join us to continue the discussion. Until next time, keep on sounding and healing.